Hey everybody, this is Janice Wright from the Garrison Public Affairs Office, and this week we are sitting down with professionals from the Installation Reception Center, and they're going to tell us all about how the IRC helps our transitioning soldiers and their families get acclimated here at the Great Place. All that and more on this week's episode of the Great Big Podcast. Hey everybody, and we're back, and we're sitting here with Captain Scott from the Fort Cavazos Installation Reception Center, right?
Yes.
And you're going to tell us all about how the organization helps our incoming soldiers. Yes. So welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I'm almost at about a month of command, so this is a good way to start it out.
Absolutely. We're just going to throw you in the deep end. That's how we do it here. But welcome to Fort Cavazos. So how has it been for you so far?
So it's been great so far. Like, I've always wanted to be a commander. I'm an HR officer, so typically we do more staff roles. So to get this opportunity is very unique, and it's truly an honor.
Excellent. So you're at the Installation Reception Center, or the IRC as we call it. Tell us a little bit about that and how it supports the soldiers here at Fort Cavazos.
Yes, so our mission is to receive new soldiers and their families. We guide them through the in-processing here on the installation, get them in contact with different agencies. And our biggest goal is to make sure that we're giving commanders a ready and lethal force.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned different agencies. So what does that entail? What kind of resources and services are available for our new and incoming soldiers?
Yes, so on day one, we actually have them go to the Copeland Center for medical readiness processing. So they'll get their checkups from doctors, things of that nature, to see any needs that they may have. And also that day is when we start their finance. So we work pretty closely with the finance office here on Fort Cavazos. We also have a thing called Army Emergency Relief AER loans that we can offer to soldiers if they're having some issues when they come in. We can
Excellent.
do that at our unit.
Okay. So you mentioned day one. Does it mean that there's a multi-day process?
Yes, so it's a 5-day long process. So the first day they'll initially start out with their medical reviews, things of that nature. And then that afternoon they'll do their finance portion. Day two will consist of more briefings, like for SHARP, so they can know what resources are available to them if they have instances of that, EO, family readiness. The third day consists of dental exams for them and additional resiliency trainings for them just to help them get acclimated. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth day, so it's unique. Depending on what day they come in, one thing that's true with each group of soldiers is every Thursday we have the commanding general's brief, mm-hmm. where he greets the soldiers and their families. They're welcome to bring their children.
So the newcomers orientation.
Yes, the newcomers orientation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we cover that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So they're welcome to come to that. And then their final day just ends with a mental health eval again, just so that we can make sure that we're helping the soldiers and giving them the resources they need. So once they get to their unit, they're ready to serve, and then their families are ready to support them.
Okay. So the process actually starts when they arrive at the airport in Killeen, correct?
Correct. So
they're picked up and transported.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what time they arrive.
Yes, so we're 24 hours, 7 days a week. We always have someone that mans our desk once they come in. If they're a single soldier that has to live in the barracks, we'll get a room for them. Mm-hmm. And they'll stay with us until they finish their process, at which point then their unit comes and picks them up.
Okay. And is it different for married soldiers?
Yes, for married soldiers, they'll still sign in, but they're welcome to go and stay with their families, of course. If they're a GO bachelor, say their family is coming later, okay, those new soldiers can still stay in the barracks, so they don't have to come out of pocket or incur fees by staying in a hotel, mm-hmm. while they're waiting for their family to get here.
Okay. And what sort of challenges or obstacles do you see that soldiers face when they first arrive?
Yeah, so the biggest issue that I've seen so far is just pay issues. So a lot of times we can get soldiers from MEPs that come in. Maybe they were prior service, or they come from the National Guard and Reserves, and oftentimes their benefits haven't started right away. So that's why as soon as they get to us, we make sure that they complete any finance documents that we can get submitted for them so they can get their pay started. And as mentioned earlier, if they're in need of an AER loan, we can help them through that process and help them submit that while they're still in processing, because the goal is to try to get them the support they need as soon as possible.
Okay. And how does the organization collaborate with units and everything to make sure that there's a seamless transition for the soldiers?
Yes, so there's a thing called Pegasus Troop that's unique to 1st Cav and 3rd Cavalry Regiment units. So with their organization and also the other tenant units on post, the day one that they come in, we have a section for sponsorship where those units can come in, meet with the soldiers as their sponsorship reps go to meet with them and say, hey, you're coming to my unit. Do you have any questions? So that's our first initial touch point. And then also, again, with the medical and dental personnel on post, as well as SHARP, EO folks, family advocacy program, any other resources that they need while they're here. Because we know that a lot of times when we get to our units, some of our units are getting ready to deploy. So them getting that initial touch point will help them be successful. We do have a pretty busy schedule, but we allow time for them to go to, say, the housing office, transportation office to help get settled in.
So they're cycled through all of these resources and services, and the newcomers orientation is really helpful, especially for soldiers with family members. And what other ways or what other resources and services are offered for soldiers that have families and children?
Yes, so the family advocacy program, they'll go through that just to make sure there's healthy home environments. So they'll give them a briefing, and then also they'll give them resources to hand out. Another event that's available for them, CYS, we point them in the right direction so that they can start getting child and youth services set up. Also let them know where MWR is, so that if they're into recreation type things or want discounts on tickets, things of that nature, they know where they're located and everything. Okay.
And how does the IRC here do things differently than, per se, maybe at another installation?
Yes, so our company is one of the biggest that actually has this model. Other units that may be similar to us would include like Fort Liberty in North Carolina or Joint Base Lewis McChord, JBLM in Washington. But what makes us different is our close coordination with our 3 Corps G1 here, and also our ability to contact other installations. Oftentimes, if there's issues with the soldiers' orders, we're having to contact the MEX offices, contact maybe Fort Sill or another installation that has a large number of soldiers coming from AIT, where this may be their first duty station. So that's what makes us different, is just our ability and manpower that we have to where we can reach out to these other organizations for assistance so that we can make sure that we're supporting the soldiers as best we can.
Okay. And what advice would you give to soldiers that are transitioning here to make the transition more seamless and a lot easier?
Yes, so the biggest things that we need for soldiers to bring are their absence requests, so their what we call the leave form now, and then a copy of their orders. And if there's any pertinent information that we need in terms of their finance, maybe banking information, so that once they get here, can just help them through the financial portion, and also just to come with a smile and a ready attitude, and then we'll point them in the right direction. No need to fear.
Those two things always make things a lot easier. So I thank you for being here. Thank you for all the invaluable information for our incoming soldiers, and welcome to Fort Cavazos once again. Thank you.
You're cheating.
Let's not count.
You're cheating. Hey, y'all ready? You're cheating. Let's go pop some caps. Yo, grab my weapon. It's in the chair.
Final cheat.
Oh, man. Nice. Bang!
Oh, easy up.
Is it loaded? Is it loaded? I don't know. Do you want to find out? Yeah, let's find out. What do you say, huh?
Ever hear the phrase, treat every weapon as if it were loaded?
It's clear.
Don't be an idiot next time.
Hey everyone, we're continuing with our podcast on the Installation Reception Center. So we have two more people we're going to talk to today, and we'll do them individually because we want to give them our undivided attention. So right now we're speaking with Sgt Pena. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We're glad to have you here. So you work at the IRC here at Fort Cavazos.
Yes, I do.
Okay. How long have you been there?
I've been here for exactly a year now.
Oh, you're kind of a newbie.
Well,
Kinda,
but not really.
Okay.
I only say this because it's such, I guess you could say it could feel like a repetitive job, but it's really not, only because you're saying the same briefs, you're talking to soldiers every day, you're doing the same thing, but everyone is different.
Okay.
Everyone that comes in has a different background. Everyone has a different situation.
Okay.
So you have to cater to all the different people that come in.
Okay. And what's your MOS, or your military occupational specialty? See, I remember that. I'm a veteran, so I do remember MOS.
I'm a 42 Alpha, Human
Okay.
Resources, so I
Okay.
work with all the admin, the behind the scenes kind of.
All right. And you're used to talking to people.
Yes and no. I'm still a little shy, but
Well, you don't sound shy.
thank you.
Okay, so what are your roles or your duties at the IRC?
So I'm the first face you see when you come into the IRC.
And lovely face it is.
Thank you.
You're
As
welcome.
soon as a soldier walks in, I ask them for their documents, their orders, their absence request. I'm kind of also at the same time taking a look at the soldiers, seeing if there's anything off with the soldier that they might not be presenting at the same time.
Okay.
That way, if there's any red flags, I'm already kind of taking note of that. And then other than that, I have them do all of the admin portion. I ask them questions about where they're coming from,
Okay.
what unit they're going to, if they're married, if they're single. I also ask them if they have any issues that need to be brought up, anything that's going to, I guess hinder their in-processing or make it difficult for them in this process, because PCSing or even coming from AIT as your first duty station can
Absolutely.
be challenging. So it's just my job to make sure that it goes as smoothly as possible.
Okay. And what issues or concerns do you encounter most with the incoming soldiers?
It depends. So usually what I see from soldiers coming from AIT is they're not given the proper guidance before they get here. They're not given the proper documents, so they show up missing documents. They don't know where they're supposed to be. They just were given a day. And sometimes they'll come they have used up all of their absence without knowing that they did, or they'll show up late, or they'll show up with no housing, and they're just lost.
Right.
So that's what I see the most. Also, I see people coming from MEPS a lot, people that were prior service or coming from National Guard Reserve.
Right.
And it takes a while for them to get an actual unit here at Fort Cavazos. So it kind of just slows their process down.
Okay. So with you being face-to-face with the soldiers and being the first face that they encounter, how important do you think the services and the resources and the assistance that the IRC offers, how important is that?
It's very important because I've PCS twice now, and at every reception I've gone to, I feel like Fort Cavazos offers the most help when it comes to the soldiers. We instantly tell them about housing. We instantly tell them about all of the resources that we offer, like AERs in case they're dealing with financial hardship. We render so much aid,
Right.
and we let them know like straight away that these are the places, or these are the people that you can talk to. That way they're not just doing all the in-processing and feeling like a number. They know that they're being heard. They know that they have someone that can help them out. And then also it's very important because since we are the first face they see, if we are not kind to them, if we are not...
Absolutely. First impressions are everything.
Yes. If we're not kind to them, if we don't talk to them like human beings, they're going to leave with the impression that Fort Cavazos is not a great place. And especially when you put Fort Cavazos into Google sometimes you're not going to see
Yes,
the greatest information.
Every organization lives and dies by the reviews.
Yes. So I have a lot of brand new soldiers, even officers that come here and they're like, tell me the truth. Tell me what you actually think of Fort Cavazos. And now if I was someone that didn't care for the job or I was miserable, I would give them that first impression, and first impressions do last.
Absolutely. So what would you say your most challenging aspect of working there is, and your most gratifying?
The most challenging is sometimes dealing with, I guess, soldiers that do come and are disrespectful. And sometimes it's not the higher ranking people. Sometimes it is the lower ranking people. Sometimes they just, I guess, talk to you whatever way they think.
Right.
But I've learned to understand that it's okay. People are coming from all over the world.
It may just be a little stressful time. They're leaving family. They're transitioning. Transitioning can be overwhelming. You know, I commend you on, you know, taking the high road and still maintaining your professionalism, because that's what we as soldiers have to do.
Yes. And the most gratifying, I will say, is when I see a soldier come in and they're nervous and like I start to talk to them and I'm like, hey, like it's okay. Like I understand this is your first time doing this, but I promise it will be okay. And I see them start to light up or they start to ask questions and their shell starts to come off. I think that's the most gratifying.
Okay. And what advice would you give to newcoming or incoming soldiers?
The only advice I would tell them is just keep a positive outlook. Keep an open mind. I know that there's a lot when it comes to big army and people are nervous, but just keep an open mind. Make sure you're teachable. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, well, thank you. You've said a mouthful. Great information for soldiers coming to Fort Cavazos, transitioning. This resource is invaluable. I feel like it's a great buffer to help them come in and acclimate themselves to the great place. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're in the mix with the man who sets the turntables on fire.
Here comes the
I'm literally en route right now, man. Wait, hang on. This song is my jam. All right, so look, tonight we're on Elm Street, right? I'm only about 10 minutes out. And listen, don't worry about Willie, okay? I'm gonna make sure he's there. He's gonna be there. I'm gonna shoot him a text right now, okay? Out.
Sgt Mathers prides himself in his ability to multitask, on or off duty. Only one problem. Studies show that successful multitasking while at the wheel is not possible. The stats were against him. Reaching for that burger made it 8 times more likely he'd crash. Did you know distracted driving causes nearly 50% of all accidents? All in all, it injures almost 400,000 people a year and kills nearly 4,000. On or off duty, distracted driving is deadly. The bottom line, if you drive while distracted, then you're not driving.
So, Sergeant Rashawn, it's nice to finally get you in our seat. We've talked to your 2 peers, and now finally they saved the best for last.
Exactly. Glad to be here. So
tell us a little bit about what you do at the IRC.
All right, so I'm Sergeant Andre Rashawn. I am the operations NCO at IRC. So my day-to-day pretty much is with the soldiers. So hands-on from your day 1 to your day 5, you'll see Sergeant Rashawn's face everywhere.
All right.
I'm a 68 Romeo by trade, been here.
And what's a 68 Romeo?
It's a veterinary food inspection specialist.
Oh, so okay, that's a big, that's a huge gap between careers. So what made you want to change it up like that?
So when I arrived back in January, I got afforded the opportunity with First Sergeant Jenkins to interview for the position.
Okay.
Luckily, I got it, and here I am today. It's been a great experience.
Well, that's great to hear. And you've only been here since January, you said?
Since January, yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. So you're definitely a newbie.
I am fresh to Fort Cavazos.
So how has it been for you so far?
It's been a great experience. I've learned a lot with the IRC. Our mission is very different and very strategically placed here. But it's been an overall good experience. Learned a lot from day 1, hit the ground running. and still learning to this day. So I can't complain.
Always learning.
Exactly.
Okay, so what exactly do you do at the IRC?
So as the operations, my job entails being the liaison with the brigades. So from your day one of in processing, you're then set to a cadre team. Once you arrive on that cadre team, our day one operations consist of seeing my face to make sure all of your administrative portion is correct. And then from there, if you have any BAH issues, any pay issues, you'll talk to the cadre teams. They'll then relay that message to me, and then we can get you to the appropriate agencies to get everything sorted out. I also work with the various agencies across Fort Cavazos to make sure that everything is in line for our every Thursday CG's brief with General Bernabe and Command Sergeant Major McDwyer, along with the Garrison Command Sergeant Major Hall. So I'm making sure that everything is flowing for the CG's
The
brief.
problem solver.
I try to be. I try my
That's
best.
what it sounds like. Okay.
So that's pretty much the gist of my position at the IRC.
Okay. So what do you find is the most difficult part about your role at the IRC?
That's a good question. The most difficult part I find, I think it's just managing my time. So time management is a big thing for me. So our operations are 24/7 and everything's always going around.
Right.
Something's always popping up. So having to work on my time management, I think it's definitely got a lot better since being in this position. But I definitely could spend more time on catering that time management aspect of things.
Okay, I
definitely
appreciate
be the trickier.
your transparency and
Most
your
definitely.
honesty.
Most
And
definitely.
it's great that you want to improve that. You know, we're always improving. We're always changing.
We
There's
are.
always room to get better.
Exactly.
And I appreciate that you identify that.
Most definitely.
So what would you say is your most gratifying aspect of your role?
Most gratifying, hands down, is the soldiers. So we get an array of soldiers from either coming from AIT or just soldiers that have been in the Army for 15 plus years. But everyone has an experience, and I think that's what we can learn from. So just coming from basic or AIT and you have that private, you can learn a lot from that private.
Right.
Whereas you have a major who's been in the Army 17 years, you still can learn something from the individual.
Absolutely.
So I enjoy every day having a new learning experience with the soldiers. But definitely the best part of the job is the soldiers.
I love that.
Most definitely.
So what advice would you give to soldiers who are transitioning to the great place?
I think the biggest thing for me is Fort Cavazos, of course, has previous names of previous experience that have occurred. And I don't want soldiers to take those experiences and make Fort Cavazos a bad name. This has been one of the greatest installations I think I've worked at so far.
Yes.
Granted, it's only been 6 months, but don't take those past experiences that you've heard about, make your own experiences coming to Fort Cavazos. There's so much opportunity here at Fort Cavazos for these soldiers. So keep that open mind because you can definitely grow here, not only as a soldier, but as a leader and even better as a person.
Are there any new developments with the IRC that we should be aware of?
I think the biggest thing for me that I'm excited about is the computer lab. So currently we are working on implementing a computer lab for our soldiers. This knocks out so much. Not all soldiers have means of transportation, so they can't get to the USO. Of course, the Fort Cavazos connector is out there, but sometimes it gets backed up. So having this computer lab will give the soldiers the ability to check their STPs, do their smart vouchers, and you have NCOs as myself there to assist you. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to that computer lab being brought up.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. The Fort Cavazos Installation Reception Center, one of our greatest resources and assets.
Most definitely.
We are so thankful that you were able to come on today.
Thank you for having me. The pleasure's all mine.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Proper licensing of drivers and operators is a time-consuming and challenging process that requires deliberate coordination prior to execution. Commanders at the brigade and battalion level must ensure that competent NCOs are appointed as the master driver within their organization. Improper soldier training and licensing is often overlooked until there is a mishap. Engaged leaders should understand driver training is imperative for soldier safety. Army vehicles are growing increasingly complex, and leaders have the express responsibility to ensure that we have done everything possible to train our soldiers to standard before issuing a license.
Hello, everyone. I'm Samantha Harms with your Garrison Public Affairs Office, and it's time to get you on track with everything happening on and around Fort Cavazos. First, be sure to take part in the Community Strengths and Themes Assessment, running now through September 30th. This is your chance to help identify health risks within the military community. More information can be found in the show notes below. Next, don't miss the Fort Cavazos Spouses Club Super Sign-Up event on August 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Samuel Adams Brew House. Also, you can't forget to save $15 on your first $75 commissary click-to-go order at Fort Cavazos Commissaries, available now through October 27th. And mark your calendar for the Education Services Back to School Education Fair on August 22nd from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Soldier Development Center. There'll be resources, food, and prizes available. Finally, the Fort Cavazos American Red Cross is accepting applications for its dental assistant program, running from October 21st through May 9th, 2025. Apply by this Friday if you are eligible. For details, email fort.cavazos@redcross.org. More information can be found in the links below. We appreciate everything that you guys have to stay with us and spending time with us. And I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of The Great Big Podcast.